American judicial system, she was sentenced to 70 months in jail.
They were involved in the cost versus profit.
Yes, even in the underworld, women are equal to men. We always picture a male when we think about any mobster. Yet, only a small number of people are aware of the dangerous female gangsters. Many people believe that a woman has no place in the criminal underworld, but we have seen lots of examples of female gangsters who are more dangerous than they're compared to men. And in this video, we are going to talk about the most well-known female gangsters, some of whom you've probably never heard of but who played a crucial role in the survival of their organizations. So, let's get started. Number 1. Bonnie Parker. We couldn't discuss merciless female criminals without bringing up Bonnie Parker, who is eternally linked to her partner, Clyde Barrow, and their long list of robberies and murders during the Great Depression. Despite the widely accepted narrative, which portrays her as a lady madly in love who joins her lover in his criminal activities, the truth about her life is far darker and more complicated. Emma and Robert Parker had 3 kids, Bonnie being the middle child. Although Bonnie's mother had to work to support her family when her father passed away when she was only 4 years old, she desired more than her mother could give. She later met Roy Thornton, a guy with a criminal past who eventually spent his entire life in jail shortly before she turned 16, and fell in love with him to the point where she decided to forego her education to marry him. They never saw each other again despite never technically getting divorced because their marriage didn't last. Clyde Barrow comes on. He was a young man who came from a very impoverished household and had a lot of aspirations for his future. According to the legend, he met Bonnie through a common friend, and they fell in love right away. They are thought to have murdered 9 police officers in all and participated in over a dozen crimes. But when the police attacked them and shot them and set their car on fire, their crime spree came to an abrupt end. Although they were both killed in the raid, their story will live on in our collective memory forever. Number 2. Stephanie St. Clair. Stephanie, a Martinican immigrant with a history of criminality who lived in Manhattan in the early 20th century, was also known as Queenie or Madame St. Clair. She didn't have an easy existence. She had to leave school when she was a young child and work for a wealthy French family since her mother became unwell. She decided to start a new life in France after their son attempted to rape her, and her mother passed away, but she was unable to find employment there. As a result, she followed the example of many others at the time and moved to America, the land of opportunity, though it wasn't exactly what she had expected. She met and fell in love with Duke while living in New York, where she was full of hopes and dreams. She was upset and angry when this man attempted to prostitute her, so she poked him in the eye with a fork and left the city. You would be mistaken if you thought it would be enough to break her spirit. A bus she was riding on was ambushed by a Ku Klux Klan group as it was leaving the city, and while most of the black passengers were slain and burned, she was raped by several males. After escaping harm, she decided to head back to New York, vowing to stand her ground no matter what. She began selling drugs along with her new partner as a result. After only a few months, she had amassed a modest fortune, but she wanted it all for herself. As a result, she decided to go it alone and found her gang, which eventually ruled Manhattan. She killed her husband and was sentenced to 10 years in prison after discovering that he had attempted to use her money to launch a new business with his mistress. After being freed, she decided to start over. She wanted to help others after leading a life of crime. She advocated for the working-class residents of her community and testified more often against corrupt police officers connected to the mafia. But perhaps her involvement in the civil rights movement, where she remained active until her death in 1969 at the age of 82, is what will stick in people's minds the most. Number 3. Ma Barker. Arizona was thought to have the most ruthless, deadly, and smart criminal brain of the last decade, according to J. Edgar Hoover. One of the deadliest gangs in the early 20th century was led by Ma Barker, Donnie Barker, a brutal grandmother. The Barker family business, which also included her husband and 4 sons, began with highway robberies and later expanded to include murder and other heinous crimes. The criminal family came under public scrutiny in the 1910 and early 1920s, which ultimately resulted in the suicide of the eldest son, who wished to keep his brothers out of jail. Ma Barker started a new crime spree after spending less than 10 years in prison and rejoining her son Fred. In January 1935, the FBI assassinated both after they had been in business for 4 years. After she passed away, there was a disagreement about her place in the gang. Some claimed she had nothing to do with her son's crimes, while others believed she was the brains behind all the horrors they did. Number 4. Catherine Kelly. Kidnapping in the 1930s attracted the attention of the FBI, the government, and the entire country. During a game of bridge, oil millionaire Charles F. Urschel was kidnapped from his home. Following an in-depth investigation, the authorities identified George Kelly, alias Machine Gun, his gang, and his wife, Catherine Kelly, as the perpetrators. Now, given that she had a long history of crimes before Kelly, some historians think that she wasn't just his wife, but also the brains behind many of their heists and crimes. Many people think she was the one who encouraged George to lead a life of crime. She had previously been married 3 times, one of which was to a successful bootlegger who passed away under strange circumstances. After meeting George, she and he established a new bootlegging operation. They soon got involved in the abduction industry, which turned out to be significantly more lucrative, especially when they carefully planned and abducted the correct people. But since this was a very common business enterprise during Prohibition, he allegedly purchased his machine gun from Catherine, who is also credited with creating his criminal identity. They had no idea that asking for a $200,000 ransom, which was an insane sum of money at the time, would be their downfall when they made the major decision to kidnap a wealthy guy. They were both imprisoned along with her mother, who was discovered to be their accomplice after the FBI nabbed them after they collected the money. Both women were released roughly 25 years later, but George died in prison. Number 5. Rosetta Chiclo. She also goes by the name Ice Ice. She was the older sister of Raffaele Chiclo, the leader of the most potent mafia organization in Italy, Nuova Camorra Organizzata. After her brother was taken into custody, she took the lead. Meetings with the Sicilian Mafia and South African cocaine dealers were regularly attended by Rosetta. She was arrested in 1993 and found guilty of crimes relating to the Mafia. She was successful in beating 9 murder allegations against her. Along with reportedly attempting to blow up a police station, Rosetta allegedly spent 10 years running from the law. She finally turned herself into the police in 1993, informing them that she had gotten tired of living on the run. Number 6. Claudia Ochoa Felix. Because of her attractiveness and social media activity, Claudia Ochoa Felix is referred to as the Mexican Kim Kardashian of organized crime. She is regarded by many as one of the deadliest ladies in the world. She allegedly took over as the vicious hit Team Los Antrax's new boss. The Sinaloa cartel employs the gang's brutal members. Authorities in Mexico have not filed any charges against her, even though she has rejected the allegations. Number 7. Santok Banjaja. She was most likely the first woman in India to run an underworld operation. She formally embraced the criminal underworld after the passing of her husband. She was in charge of all criminal activities in the Porbandar region. She has a history of involvement in several kidnapping, extortion, and even murder cases. She even entered politics, but she was unsuccessful. This means that women are capable of doing anything. She is capable of running the gang and running the entire criminal underworld. She is admired by her gang members even in the criminal underworld. The only thing these cruel, deadly, and strong ladies do is inspire terror in the hearts of their adversaries. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, do like and subscribe to our channel.